back to an all-new episode of Tiger Tally. I'm Meredith Brito, here to get you caught up on everything that's happened this past week. The first rankings of the regional qualifying score were just announced earlier today. Auburn received the 14th spot in the rankings, averaging a team score of 196.015. The Tigers are also in the top 20 this week in all four events: bars, floor, vault, and beam. The gymnastics team meets with number 2 LSU this Friday at 7:30. Both the Auburn men and women's swimming and diving teams showed up big at the SEC championships over the weekend. The men's team finished third in the standings, making it the 25th consecutive time they have finished in the top 3, the longest active streak in the SEC. The women's team finished 5th in the standings. Also out of the Auburn women's team, Ashley Nadai. She took home the title in the 1650 freestyle, becoming Auburn's 8th SEC mile champion. The number 4 Auburn equestrian team closed out its home schedule on Saturday, winning 17-2 against Tennessee Martin. The Tigers improved to 5-3 for the season, with 3 more road meets before the SEC championships. It was also senior day for the Tigers. Auburn honored Carolyn Becker, Ashley Foster, Lena Hernig, Tori Hoft, Jacqueline Shiland, and Hannah Stevens. After starting the season 3-1 in the Triple Crown tournament in Mexico, Auburn softball returned to the Plains to make their season debut at Jane B. Moore Field.
The Auburn University softball team kicked off their home season on Thursday night against the SIUE Cougars at Jane B. Moore Field in front of a great crowd. The Tigers sent Michaela Martin to the circle, where she pitched 6 innings, giving up 3 runs, 1 earned, and striking out 7. The Tigers would get some offense early with a huge 2-run home run by Carly Wallace in the bottom of the first inning. The Tigers would remain in check by SIUE pitcher Haley Chambers-Book, who pitched 7 1/3 innings and only surrendering 5 hits to a powerful Tigers lineup. Auburn would strike again in the 4th inning on a monstrous home run by Kendall Veach. SIUE plated 2 runners in the 6th inning to tie the game up at 3 apiece. The game would head into extra innings, where the Tigers would send Kaylee Carlson out to the circle, where she was nearly flawless. Haley Fagan led off the bottom of the 8th inning with a single, which was followed by a walk to Kendall Veach. And after a sacrifice bunt by Courtney Shea, it set up Carmen Greenwood for the game-winning single to give the Tigers a 4-3 victory. The Tigers will return to action in the Plainsman Invitational Friday, as they will take on Creighton at 2:30 and host a rematch with SIUE at 4:45. For Eagle Eye Sports, I'm Chris Hummel.
The Tigers are now 9-1 for the season, with the next match on Thursday. Baseball opened up its season on Friday. The team hosted George Washington, winning 3 out of the 4 games. Keegan Thompson led the Tigers to a 9-0 shutout in the opening game. The Tigers would then split the doubleheader on Saturday and pick up the last victory of the series on Sunday. The 3-1 Tigers will have their next match on Tuesday when they host Jacksonville State at 3 p.m. Men's basketball continues with its end-of-the-season woes after a loss against Texas A&M. The Tigers have now lost 4 of their last 6 games. Auburn has 4 more games remaining their regular season before the SEC tournament in March. 2 of those games will be on the road. The number 15 men's golf team placed 5th at the All-American Intercollegiate on Sunday. All-SEC senior Matt Gilchrist led Auburn, tying for 13th. Number 8 Baylor would win the tournament. Next, Auburn will host the Tiger Invitational presented by Jason Duffner at Grand National in Opelika. The tournament will be held March 5th through the 7th. Coming up after the break, we will have more news regarding Claude Julien and Darrelle Revis. Plus, NBA All-Star Weekend came to a close last night in New Orleans, so we will have a full recap on that. You're watching Tiger Tally on Eagle Eye TV, Channel 6. Crosby scored his 1,000th point in the NHL in a win over the Winnipeg Jets last Thursday. The Penguins star center reached the milestone in his 757th regular season game, which is the 12th fastest in NHL history. Crosby became the third player to eclipse the 1,000-point mark in the NHL this season, joining Henrik Sedin and Alex Ovechkin. In the game, Crosby ended up adding 1,001 and 1,002 to his collection. The Montreal Canadiens have named Claude Julien as their new head coach. Julien was previously the head coach of the Canadiens between the 2003 and 2006 seasons. Julien was fired by the Boston Bruins last week and now takes over a Canadiens team that is currently leading the Atlantic Division. The team is 0-1 since Julien took over. The NBA held its All-Star Weekend festivities in New Orleans on Saturday night, with the Skills Collection Contest, three-point shooting contest, and the Slam Dunk Contest. Knicks forward Kristaps Porzingis won the Skills Contest, Rockets guard Eric Gordon won the three-point shooting contest, and Pacers guard Glenn Robinson won the third ended the night by winning the Slam Dunk Contest. The NBA concluded its annual All-Star game Sunday night in New Orleans. The West All-Stars defeated the East All-Stars 192-182 in the highest scoring game in league history. Pelicans forward Anthony Davis took home the All-Star Game MVP, scoring 52 points, which is an All-Star record for points scored. Davis broke Wilt Chamberlain's previous record of 42 points in an All-Star game. And just after the All-Star game concluded, the Sacramento Kings announced they traded center DeMarcus Cousins to the New Orleans Pelicans. Cousins, along with teammate Omri Casapi, were traded in exchange for Buddy Hield, Tariq Evans, Langston Galloway, a 2017 first-round pick, and a 2017 second-round pick. Cousins is averaging 27.8 points per game and 10.6 rebounds per game this season. This move pairs Cousins with Pelicans star big man Anthony Davis to create one of the most talented front courts in the NBA. The 2017 Basketball Hall of Fame finalists were announced over the weekend in New Orleans. Tracy McGrady and Chris Webber serve as the headliners of an esteemed group of former players and coaches. Other finalists include Rebecca Lobo, Tim Hardaway, Bill Self, and Bo Ryan. The 2017 class will be officially unveiled April 3rd at the Final Four in Phoenix. Darrelle Revis has been charged with 4 felonies and a misdemeanor in an altercation in Pittsburgh last week that left 2 men unconscious for 10 minutes. The Jets star corner turned himself into the police on Friday night and was released on non-monetary bond. Revis' next court date will be this upcoming Thursday. We'll be right back.
I hope that you've been able to learn a strong work ethic surrounded by character, integrity, perseverance, so that when your 1 second comes, you'll be prepared for it.
Chris Davis.
45, there goes Davis!
Your 1 second, our 1 second is now. And our lives have been guided by the principles of one of the greatest academic institutions in the country, Auburn University.
Welcome back. I'm Meredith Brito here with Stefan Sheffield and Micah Larson. We're here to talk about the biggest stories going on in sports right now. First up, is Jimmer Fredette back? The number 10 pick in the 2011 NBA draft dropped 73 points in a Chinese League game on Sunday. He was last with the Knicks in 2016 with a 10-day contract, but was not given another contract, leaving him to transition back to the NBA D-League. Now that he's gotten a lot of attention, do you think he'll be able to make his way back into the NBA?
Well, let's start by saying 73 points. Doesn't matter what league you're in, that's pretty impressive. 73 points. But I think before we talk about his future, I talk about his past. Brigham Young, like you said, 10th pick at 2011 draft. He went to the Kings. He never really made his mark. He didn't make his mark at the Kings, Pelicans, Bulls, then the Knicks. That's why he's in the CBA. I pretty much think it's just bluff. Just because you do good in this game does not mean you need to go back to the NBA.
Yeah, I agree. 73 points is very impressive. He's averaging 36 points a game currently over there. But like you said, you look back at his time in the NBA, he only averaged, the most points he averaged in a season was 7.6 points. So not even breaking double digits on average for a guy who's supposed to be a elite shooter. In today's game, you would think that would translate well with how the three-pointers coming along. overall, this isn't like a kid that's played over in China and is now going to come to the NBA. That you're like, okay, maybe his game computes. Maybe we don't know what it's like. We've seen the product of Jimmer Fredette in the NBA, and it wasn't successful. So I don't see him having a comeback unless he maybe scores 100 points. I don't know.
I mean, like you said, a comeback, I don't see him doing any better in the NBA because the talent is quite different in the CBA and NBA. So, like, I think he just needs to stay where he is. You know, he's a star over there, a mega star as they call him. So, you know, just live it up over there.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's like you said. The competition is not the exact same, but at the end of the day, it's still. I mean, it's good competition. He's still getting paid pretty good money. I mean, it's you're playing a child's game for a living. So at the end of the day, you can't be too mad about that, right?
Right. Where leave where you're the star and making decent money. What's the reason? But now we're going to move on to the NFL. So Tom Brady's getting near his 40s. His backup, Jimmy Garoppolo, we've seen him play quite a bit this past season. Do you think he should stay with the team? Do you think he should be traded? What would you do with Jimmy Garoppolo?
Well, Tom Brady seems to have found the fountain of youth. You know, he's 39 years old, and I've never seen him play better. You know, Jimmy Garoppolo, he could start for another team. You know, I think that just goes to say about the Patriots organization. Their backups can start for another team. Now, there are three quarterbacks whose names have been circulating around for, you know, trade. Tony Romo, Jay Cutler, and Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo being the youngest, 25, you know, he could easily go to the 49ers, you know, new head coach, new GM, be the franchise quarterback. The Bills, the Texans, any of those teams, I don't think he should waste his career behind Tom Brady. Not necessarily calling it a waste because you're learning from the greatest. But I think it's time for him to move on.
Yeah, I agree as well. I think when you look around the league, there's a lot of teams looking for NFL quarterbacks, and you could use baseline what the Vikings gave up for Sam Bradford. They had to give up a first-round draft pick this year. I would rather have Jimmy Garoppolo over Sam Bradford, but my question is, too, is you look at these quarterbacks that have been behind Tom Brady. Matt Castle won 10 games with the Patriots, went to the Kansas City Chiefs, didn't really do anything.
Right.
And then, you know, Ryan Mallett, everyone thought might be something, and these guys just haven't panned out. If I'm a GM, I'm a little nervous. Then again, seeing Jimmy Garoppolo play, yes, his numbers are good in New England. I don't know how much I'm willing to give up, though, but I do agree of those three quarterbacks you named, I think Jimmy Garoppolo is the best choice if you're trying to start really rebuilding your franchise.
Well, yeah, like if you look at the teams that are interested, the Browns, they really have nothing to lose. And the 49ers, they're doing a complete rebuild. And so, like I said, the Texans, you know, they wasted money with Brock Osweiler, but Jimmy Garoppolo is set to make $1.1 million in 2017, so they're not losing much.
Right.
And then you have a playoff team, and you pick Tom Savage as your quarterback. Now, I'd rather take a Jimmy Garoppolo, you know, than a rookie who knows nothing about the league. You know, someone who had the experience up under Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. So, you know, like you said, a first-round, second-round pick. If you're willing to make that, then, you know, take them.
I agree, yeah.
But, I mean, if you were the Texans, wouldn't you be worried that this could be another Brock Osweiler situation?
Not necessarily, you know. Like I said, it's not the big risk. They gave Brock Osweiler, what, $72 million? Like I said, Jimmy Garoppolo will not get that much. Yeah. He will not get that much.
Unless he plays for the Browns.
Right. So then you can always coach him up, you know. Like, they won't be spending as much money, but, you know, I'm pretty sure he's better than a Tom Savage and Brock Osweiler.
So now let's move on to college football. So Coach Harbaugh is making headlines again. Last year it was satellite camps, and now he's kind of hired his old San Diego Chargers quarterback, and now his son is going to be coming to Michigan. So do you question his tactics as a coach over there at Michigan?
Good old Kacies. Not really. You know, if it was any other coach, I probably would question it. But, like, he's hired him to his staff. You know, he's qualified for any position. He can probably be the head coach if he wanted to. This man's coached tons of college teams, and he's coached on NFL squads. So, I mean, his son, yeah, he's the top-rated, you know, dual threat quarterback 2019, but he hasn't even gotten an offer from Michigan yet. So, could that change? You know, maybe. He's hired people before, you know, where he's influenced players to come, but that's what you want to do as a coach. That's why Saban hired, you know, every other head coach that got fired. So I don't really question his methods. It's smart, really.
Exactly. I mean, it's not illegal.
Right.
No.
So, I mean, you can use Jim Harbaugh is. I mean, you look at now their team's going to Rome for, you know, a spring break study because they weren't allowed to practice. I can't remember what all the loopholes it is, but this guy knows how to find loopholes.
Right.
He knows how to make things work to his advantage. It's not illegal, so at the end of the day, who cares? I mean, it's if he thinks it's going to benefit him, like you said, he's qualified to coach. What's the big whoop?
Like you said, he doesn't have the cheat. You know, he has the top 10 recruiting class for this past year. He doesn't have the cheat if he can get the guy without hiring his dad if he really wanted to go.
But I think people think it's manipulating that he's hiring his dad, like he's doing that just to get the dual threat quarterback. Do you think it's manipulating at all that he's doing this? Do you think he's just doing this just to get the recruit?
Well, I think it's kind of cliche. Don't punish the dad for the son's talent. You know, he knows this man. You know, he was his coach at San Diego, so he has a personal bond with him. Like, he's qualified. You know, I don't think he's manipulating him to try to get his son. I'm pretty sure it's come up. That probably wasn't the first thing he said. You know, hey Mike, I want you to come coach for me. I want your son. Pretty sure it came up. You know, in the conversation, but it's probably the last thing he probably brought up.
Yeah, and you can look at thousands of recruiting scenarios. Evans, local product. His dad played football here, went to Auburn High, chose to go to Alabama. There's plenty of scenarios where guys are going to, burn their own trail, start their own career separated from what their dad did. So who knows? That's not a guarantee. Does it help if that's something that's a selling point? So, I mean, like I said, it's not illegal. If the dad's there and the son wants to go there and be with his dad, then Harbaugh made a smart move.
Right.
It's not.
He's just smart at the end of the day. I mean, if he ends up with the recruit and this amazing coach, I mean, he's done a good job at the end of the day. That's my opinion.
You could put him up there with Nick Saban and Urban Meyer.
I agree.
So now let's move on to Auburn basketball. They've lost their 4 out of their last 6 games. And the SEC tournament's coming up, so you're shaking your head. How do you think that they're going to do in this tournament coming up?
Well, I think Kentucky's the favorite, everyone's favorite in this tournament. Auburn University, they're 5-9 in SEC play, and those wins, those losses of their record, they've come by 10 points or more. TJ Dunnins, he's had a leg injury, which is he's like the fire on the team. So without him, I don't really see this tournament going their way. They're said to go against Tennessee first round. I don't know how true that is, but they do. Kevin Punter is said to have a season-ending surgery, so that could tip it in their favor. But it's just one round. They were a 13 seed last year, but lightning doesn't strike twice.
And you look at Auburn down the stretch. It's one thing when you're in stride going into the playoffs. You look at UConn a few years ago with Kemba, and you hit a hot streak. Auburn seems to be stumbling into the SEC tournament, in my opinion, blowing second half leads. And this past weekend against Texas A&M, Auburn was down by only single digits for 7 minutes of the game. Otherwise, the rest of that game, they're down by double digits. So defensively, something's up. Like you said, I don't know where the leader is on this team. And when it comes to playoffs, and obviously this UConn comparison isn't fair, but I'm just using it as an example. And Kemba was that leader. He was that spark. I don't know who that is on Auburn right now. I don't know who's going to go out on the court and as fans you go, okay, he's going to take us to the promised land. He's going to lead us. He's going to be the guy we can count on. I don't see that right now, and so that scares me going into the tournament.
Yeah, I like what you said, that spark, because, every team has it seemed like in the SEC, Kentucky has 2 or 3. Malik Monk, the leading scorer, De'Aaron Fox, leading assister. Then, Kacie Hill from Florida. Everyone has that team except Auburn, so it's not impossible, but improbable.
Right.
Well, personally, I think part of it's just because we have a lot of young guys on this team. I think if I had to point to one guy, I'd probably say TJ Dunnins, which doesn't help us because, like you mentioned, he has the injury. But this team's just so young, and seeing Austin Wiley, who just came out of high school, there's no way you can just point to him and go, hey, that's our leader.
Right.
So give it a few years. We may have a leader that we can just point to. But at this point, if we're facing Tennessee, I think we're going to lose in the first round. I don't just see this going amazing for us. We'll put up a good fight, but I have a feeling that Tennessee would be able to beat us.
Right, and like you said, we're young, and these guys are just kind of developing into that. It's not like we're Kentucky where we get all these one-and-dones and they're ready for the next level. We take guys in, they're going to try and get better over their 3 to 4 years, maybe even 2, depending on some of them. Give them time to develop into players, into those leaders that get them ready for the next level.
Yeah, like Austin Wiley, he's supposed to be going to senior prom this semester. So, you can't look to him as a leader like you said. It's just they have to mature and grow. Like you said, they're not Kentucky's freshmen. They're not, the elite of the elite.
Right.
So, like you said, it just takes time.
That's all we have for you this week, but tune in next Monday for the latest and what's happening in sports. Thanks for choosing to spend your time with us. War Eagle.